My name is Michael Holt. I'm a father, husband, guitar player, band leader, actor, business owner of a trucking company. I grew up in Farmington in the 70s and 80s, and very redneck, very racist, very bigoted. I had a stepfather who for a very long time was a very physically abusive person to my mom, an emotionally abusive person towards her and me. And for a lot of years, my memories were getting the shit kicked out of me every day, either at home or at school. Pick one, or both. But I was afraid to leave. The thought of that kind of scared me to death. You know, my uncle Jim was a drummer. You know, his band rehearsed in an enclosed garage that was attached to the house that I was growing up in, and there was a guitar in a case behind his drum kit, and I went out there and opened it up and ran my fingers across the strings. And I knew from that point on I wanted to play guitar. The choices were stay in Farmington or go to New York. And I got on the plane. I went to New York. I went to upstate New York. I became friends with this guy, Joey Bellardini, who the world knows by Joey Belladonna, who was the singer for Anthrax. Long story short, I just happened to mention, you know, do you guys need anybody to work for the band? And I got a call 2 days later, and next thing I knew, I was on a plane to New York City, and I became a guitar tech, and and I didn't know anything about guitar teching. I didn't know anything about monster Marshall amps. I didn't know anything about thrash metal or hardcore. But there was this part of me that just I didn't want to be a guitar tech. I wanted to play guitar. So that was tough. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the business, and I learned a lot about how tough the reality of touring actually is. When it's nothing like anybody thinks it is. There was a really bad bus accident, and Cliff Burton died in that bus accident, and we came home, and I found out that the state of New York wanted to take my son and put him in a foster home, and that if I hadn't have come home, I wouldn't have my son. And being that my dad left me, I wasn't ever leaving any kids anywhere. It was never going to happen. And that's what happened. I got on a plane in Syracuse, New York, with this baby that fit from here to here. God, he's just such a beautiful kid. He's just everything. Basically, I met my first wife, Kim, through some mutual friends, and we were both trying to live healthier lives where we weren't drinking or doing drugs. We ended up moving in together, and Randall was with my parents in Las Cruces, and so he came and started living with us, and then we moved into a house and became a family. It was like the family I didn't get to have, in a sense, growing up as a kid, and that's what I was after.
What happened after that?
I got divorced, actually. And then I was a single parent overnight because Randall was my son. And then had another son that I had to be available for and take care of, and a good 60% of the time. What changed after the divorce was my income status changed. A friend of mine went to work for Budweiser, and I had 3.5 feet of hair, and I cut all my hair off and put in an application, and I had a good income finally. I had something that I could do to have a good income. So I went to work for Western Distributing out of Colorado. When I got to Austin, I got a hold of my youngest son, Braden, and I was able to go have breakfast, and I had the truck parked kind of across the street, catty-cornered from
where his mother lived, and he went to walk back to his house and had his hands stuck down in his pockets and was looking down at the ground. He got about halfway down the trailer and turned around and looked at me and just stood there for a second, looked back down at the ground and walked off to his mom's, and right there I knew I was done. I knew that my kid needed me to be here, and I needed me to be here. That was a tough trip home.
I was helping a friend fix his motorcycle, and went up over a curb, and there was a telephone pole and some cars in the driveway and some trees, and I came off the bike and hit the ground and basically separated my back. 2 nights later, I was in a club, sitting on a chair, and I did my Friday night gig. Like an idiot. And continued to play. Because I was scared. I was scared I wasn't going to get to do it anymore. And, I ended up pretty much just homeless at 45 years of age, about as close to homeless as you could get. It was shocking. It was scary. It scared me. It really scared me, because I saw the future, and I didn't like it. And then it just slowly slid downhill until finally I was able to make some decisions about what I wanted for the future.
I think this time around I feel less trapped or stuck than I ever have, and I have a plan for the future, and it feels like there's like a means to an end with it. Before, it just felt like I was just surviving somehow, and that just didn't feel very good. At some point maybe I can get to the get to where the business has grown to the point where I can step away a little bit and do more stuff with music and maybe more stuff with acting. But all that takes hard work. I don't know, I've had a pretty, for the most part, I feel like I've had a pretty good life. The motorcycle accident I had, it's just, that's just life. Like, people have accidents and people end up in the hospital, and people lose jobs, lose careers, lose their families. I've been pretty fortunate, really. I've done pretty much everything that I wanted to do in my life at some point or another. I've found a way to do it. Some of it came at a high price, but I pretty much had a pretty fulfilling life, really. And there were periods of time in my life where I didn't want to be a musician on the road. I wanted to be around my kids. I didn't want to be gone. All of that for me was a choice. So I didn't really feel like I missed the boat, really.